Hello there, and welcome back for day 19 of our energy boosting tips for breast cancer survivors. And I'm wondering today, we're talking about something that I know that so many of us struggle with. And I'm wondering if you can relate to these scenarios, right? When you're tired, do you tend to just keep pushing and pushing through it and pushing and pushing and pushing? Yeah, I used to do that. Yeah, for sure. And we may wonder why, right? We know that we're tired. So why do we keep pushing? Why do we keep pushing? Well, I know for many of my clients, this is a conversation that we have all the time because it's interesting, right? If you know you're tired, why do you have such a hard time stopping and putting your feet up, taking a nap without feeling guilty, right? So sometimes what I've noticed, some of the things that come up is we don't want to let people down, right? So if you've committed to doing something, or you have a job to do, or you're supposed to pick up the kids, or whatever it might be, right? You don't want to let people down. I know that one of the things that was hard for me in my journey was feeling that I was letting people down, that I wasn't able to be there for people the way that I normally am, because I didn't have the capacity, I didn't have the bandwidth. And, you may have felt the same way. But there's that underlying feeling of we don't want to let people down. We don't want to disappoint people. We don't want to feel like we're not good enough and that we can't do everything. These are really valid reasons. Maybe you feel like you don't have the right to rest, right? Maybe you had to rest a lot during your breast cancer treatment. And so now that treatment's done, your expectation, and maybe other people's expectations, or maybe our perception of other people's expectations, is that we jump back into doing everything, that our energy level's going to be okay, when it isn't. It isn't. I've yet to meet anybody whose energy bounced back as soon as treatment was done. Doesn't exist. And that's because of the level of trauma that it is in our lives, right? I know that often we kind of want to repay people for the help that they've given us and the support that they've given us. Don't know about you, but it's not easy for me to ask for help, right? And so when I do, I want to be able to not necessarily repay, but to be there for others if they need help, which I do naturally anyway, but it just became something else that I put onto myself. And maybe you're doing the same thing, right? And last thing, and this is, there's so many reasons, right? I could list a whole lot and go on for hours about the reasons that we push ourselves beyond what we feel our limits are. But I also know that so many of us have a hard time saying no, right? So when people ask us to do stuff, we might have a hard time saying no to that. And so we say yes on the outside. Inside is screaming, no, 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 no. You're so exhausted already. Why are you doing something else? Does that sound familiar? Maybe your inner voice is deeper or higher than mine, but our inner voice so often is saying that, but we're not listening. Why aren't we listening? And one of the hardest things is that the people around us so often don't understand this overwhelming fatigue that we are dealing with. Not their fault. They haven't been on this journey. They're not in our bodies. They're not feeling our feelings. So that's up to us to communicate to them. Does that make sense? Right? Before we dive in more, let me introduce myself. If we haven't yet met, my name is Karen Del Maestro. I'm your self-care coach, breast cancer and BRCA2 thriver, and host of the Healthy Living After Breast Cancer Facebook community. And thank you so much for joining me here for these 30 days of energy boosting tips, especially for breast cancer survivors. My gift to you this October, so that you have something hopefully positive to focus on. So let me ask you to consider this, right? I want you to imagine yourself as being a teapot. Yes, it's the Brit in me coming out for sure. And Everybody that you help, everything that you do throughout your day becomes a teacup. And the tea inside your pot, I invite you to think of as your energy level, right? Your capacity, what you have that you are able to give. And as we go through our day, what happens? We're pouring tea into everybody else's pot. So our energy level is draining as we are giving tea and helping out others, right? So what happens if we keep doing, if we keep pushing, if we keep giving? And by the way, I'll go into this concept a lot more in the upcoming masterclass, Reclaim Your Energy After Breast Cancer, October 3rd. You'll be seeing the sign up tomorrow. So don't forget to register and save your spot. But I'll be talking about this even more. So the key, right, is for our tea level to not get to the bottom where we are completely sucked dry, completely drained. And what do we need to do that, right? Imagine then what a nap would do for you. If you can't nap, what about just putting your feet up and having a cup of tea or reading a book or doing some meditation or some breath work, listening to some music, restorative activities? What would you imagine then would happen to your tea level in your pot if you were to do that? Right. Your tea level is going to come back up, right? So as that energy level comes back up, we have the ability to keep going. Now, when I invite you to take a nap, it is so important that you're able to do this without feeling guilty, right? And that's the tough part, right? We have been taught to just keep pushing, keep going, keep going, keep going. And if you don't, then what's your story around that? What's your story? You're not good enough. You're not healthy enough. You're not fast enough. All of the enoughs that we have been made to believe in our life start to pop up, which is where that guilt comes from, right? But well, how can we do this instead, right? How can we start to learn how to be okay with taking a nap or a rest or without that guilt, right? How can we do that? So you can start by recognizing when that fatigue level is rising. Everything starts with awareness, right? So when you're starting to feel the tea level in your teapot draining, right? Then I invite you to put your feet up or take a nap, a little cat nap. I remember going back years ago when I was a personal trainer, I used to get up at 3:45 in the morning. And I did this for 10 years, guys. Crazy when I think about it, right? Talk about pushing. I used to so push. And I used to kind of have a break in the middle of the day after lunch where there was a lag in clients before it would pick up again later in the afternoon and evening. So I literally used to take a pillow and a blanket to work, go out into my car and take a power nap. Became the queen of power naps. And I did not feel guilty because I knew if I did not do that, I wasn't going to make it through my day. And I'm talking it literally could be 20 minutes, but it gave me what I needed to get through the day. Now, that energy boost from our naps is less right now. You may have noticed that. You may not wake up from your nap quite as rested as you would like, but it still helps. Still helps. So like I said, maybe it's a nap, maybe it's just sitting and putting your feet up, but it's kind of just checking out for a little bit. It's a little bit of me time. It's a lot of self-care, right? All of this is actually self-care and learning to recognize what you need, when you need it, and what you can do about it is the key to practicing these self-care. As I said, I'll be talking more about that in the Reclaim Your Energy After Breast Cancer Masterclass on October 30th. You'll be seeing all the information for that tomorrow. So start to get excited because I'm going to be sharing the best of the best tips that I have for you guys. If you've enjoyed this 30-day energy boosting series, this is nothing compared to what I'm going to be sharing in that masterclass. Okay, so make sure you're looking out for that sign up tomorrow. And then lastly, the thing that I want you to really think about, right, is taking a nap, is not beating yourself up, okay? Or feel guilty for how tired you feel by how much you can or can't do. Try not to judge yourself. Try not to compare yourself to what you could do before your breast cancer. Now, what you'll find is, depending on how close you are to that date of your treatment ended, you will notice that and especially if you're inviting in these energy boosting tips I've been sharing, you will notice that your energy will start to come back. I've heard stories and I've worked with women who are 8 years post-cancer, and yet they are still massively fatigued until they stop practicing these little things. They had no clue. They thought it was just sleep that made a difference. They had no clue the impact of stress, food, toxins, and self-care had on their fatigue levels. They're now doing a heck of a lot better since they've been following these simple tips. Okay, so make sure that you're putting into practice what you're learning throughout here. I'm not just sharing information. It doesn't make a difference unless you start doing, right? We've all got tons of information. You don't need more information. What you need is the action, right? That's why I wanted to give you the action steps. So let me recap them before we finish up here today. Recognize when you're tired. Hard when you wake up tired, right? But you know that draining feeling as your day goes on. You're going to have that your energy levels are going to vary depending on the day, depending on your stress level, depending on if it's a cancerversary. You're going to notice that your energy level is probably less. Not always, but probably. Number 2, either put your feet up, have a cup of tea, check out for 10 minutes, or have a little power nap without beating yourself up afterwards. You are allowed, this is me giving you permission right here, to take care of yourself. And if you do not, the chances of you getting sick again are massively higher, massively higher. Okay, so we have to change some of the things that you were doing before cancer to afterwards if you don't want to get sick again. If you want your energy back, if you want to feel like yourself again, some things need to change. That's all. It doesn't need to be hard, doesn't need to be intimidating. We just need to invite change. Okay, that's it for today, guys. Don't forget, if you have not yet grabbed your 30-day energy boosting calendar, please do so. Follow along with us. But get it so that you've got one sheet that you can just go to and refer to when you're feeling tired and you need a little energy boost. Or maybe you're just saying, you know, what can I do for me today? Pick something off the list. Doesn't need to be done in order. You can really pick and choose with these. It's the way that I designed it. And that's it for today. So don't forget, grab your calendar if you haven't yet. Day 19 tip, take a guilt-free nap or put your feet up without feeling guilty. Really relish it, enjoy it, and think of your teapot filling up again so that you can keep going, so that you can keep giving, so that you can keep caring for others the way that I know that you like to. Okay? That's it for today, guys. I'm Karen Del Maestro. You can find me over at Karen with an I, delmaestro.com, or in the Healthy Living After Breast Cancer Facebook community. I look forward to seeing you in there, and I will be back tomorrow. Okay? Have a great day. Bye for now.